Welcome to Notable Approvals. I am attorney Amanda Shaffer. I have another interesting case to talk about today. Before I get to that, quick reminder, make sure to like us and follow us on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. And if you find this video or any of other videos useful, share it with your friends and family so that they can see it too. And if you missed it last night, we had episode 7 of Are You Smarter Than a Naturalized Citizen? You can watch the replay in full on our Facebook page, Instagram, or YouTube. The Instagram feed is a little different just because I can't stream it from the same thing. So if you want to see our faces as well, then YouTube and Facebook would be your best bet. So today's case is about a client who is a native and citizen of China. She first entered the U.S. in 2007 with a B2 visitor visa. In 2008, her stepmother petitioned for her. And hi, Tanya. Thanks for watching. We're trying to show our comments. The stepmother petitioned for her. And of course, when a step-parent petitions for you, they still have to prove the relationship to your parent, your biological parent, is a real relationship. And that ended up getting denied back in 2008 because they never provided that evidence. My client was very young at the time. So although that happened, it was denied. She stayed in the U.S. after the B2 expired. Actually, it had already expired. She had left the U.S., came back on advanced parole, and never left after the I-485 was denied. So she continued to go to school and whatnot. And then in 2015, she applied for DACA because she was eligible for DACA. In 2017, for her initial DACA application that she filed in 2015, which she did not file with a lawyer, she received an RFE, or request for evidence. And that's when we first met her. She came to us to help her with the request for evidence. And it wasn't too bad, but basically she was missing some of the evidence of her continuous residence for specific dates, and also proof of her graduation from high school. So it only took us a couple of days to get all the evidence together and submit it. We submitted rent receipts from her landlord, her school transcript for those that time period that they were saying they needed more proof, Chase bank statements for that same time period, and then of course her diploma from high school. And then about 3 weeks later, her initial DACA was approved. 3 weeks after they received a response. We then helped her renew her DACA 2 years later, and then she told us that she was getting married to her longtime U.S. citizen boyfriend. And they got married in September of 2019, and we had been talking about it with them for a while, so they were prepared, ready to go with the filing. It took less than 2 months to get the filing to USCIS. In December of 2019, we get a request for evidence. This one is different than the DACA one, but with DACA, you have to submit your birth certificate or proof of your age. So she had submitted a birth certificate with the translation to them, to USCIS, and then she gave us that same birth certificate and same translation to submit with her adjustment of status application. Well, this time, for whatever reason, USCIS did not find this birth certificate acceptable. So she had to call family back in China to go get a different birth certificate. I don't remember what the difference was, or like why one was issued by a different authority. But we've had that issue actually a lot with China, where the USCIS is not happy with certain versions of the birth certificate. So if you can get another one, you get another one, because it has to, if they're saying it's not from the right government authority, nothing you can do. So we did that. And then finally, she got her interview, her marriage green card interview, which was last week. And we submitted plenty of good faith marriage evidence, such as joint checking account, joint Con Edison bills, greeting cards from people congratulating them on their marriage, wedding photos, other photos of them with family and friends, joint lease agreement. And they had been together for a very long time. So they're one of those couples that not that I doubt most of my clients, I don't, but they're a couple where there just wasn't any doubt. I mean, they knew each other so well. So when they got the interview notice and she asked me about going to the interview, I was honest with her, like I tell all my clients who I don't think need to pay for us to attend the interview. I said, look, I'm happy to go with you if you want to pay for me to go and be there if you're more comfortable, but you don't need me. Like, you have no criminal history. Your only immigration issue is overstaying, basically. The petition that was denied had not, you didn't even file, and you were a child when it was filed. I was like, you don't need to pay for me to go. You can save your money. I'm happy to do it though. If you want to, if you want me to, we can also do a prep. So they were both very nervous, especially the client who had DACA. And she's like, no, we want to practice. We want to bring the evidence so you can make sure we have everything we need. We don't want to miss anything. And we don't want to like get surprised at the interview with any of the questions. So I was like, all right, sure. So they came in, we did, I went through the evidence. I told them, make sure you bring these originals. This is how you should order it so that you're not nervous flipping through the pages when the officer's asking for it. And then we did a practice session, and they literally got every single question correct on the practice, and that never happens. So I told them, look, you guys, you're going to be fine, but I'll be there no matter what. Now, because of COVID, I'm doing it over the phone right now. So I call in and I listen in over the phone. So it's a little different. It's nice for me to do it over the phone because it saves a lot of time having to go to USCIS and wait, but it definitely takes a little bit away, I think, from the hall experience, because when I'm with the clients waiting, the one thing I always try to do is make them feel comfortable. So like, I like to show pictures of dogs, my dogs and other dogs. Or if I know my client likes something, like if they like soccer, I'll show them soccer things or talk about soccer. And so while I was sitting waiting for the phone call and they were in the waiting room, I was texting them pictures of dogs. And they told me after that it really calmed them down. So I'm happy that it did. So they go into the interview, and the officer asks the husband a bunch of questions. Again, I've sat through many of these interviews, even other couples who I've never had a doubt that it was a real relationship. They make mistakes with the questions. Sometimes it's nerves. Sometimes they just don't know the answer, no matter how real the relationship is. But her husband got every single question correct, which didn't surprise me. Like I said, during the practice, they did too. So then the officer switches to her and starts asking her questions. And she starts asking about the engagement ring, says, like, what was the process of getting the engagement ring? So my client starts explaining how they went shopping together, they went online. And then the officer says, tell me about the proposal. And at that point, my client starts to like well up and get emotional. Like, I could hear her having trouble talking. I could hear that she's like getting like emotional and crying. And she's like, I don't know why I'm crying. And like I hear the officer on the other end, and this surprised me because I have, again, been to so many of these. I have never heard this from a USCIS officer. The USCIS officer goes, oh my God, that's so sweet. You're getting so emotional. And like her husband was like she saw that she was like overwhelmed, and he's like, well, maybe we should take a break. And I'm like, guys, you're doing great. And the officer goes, again, something I've never heard before. She goes, counsel, don't worry. These are happy tears. And I was like, all right, well, that's great. I mean, I knew they were happy tears, but I'm glad she clarified that everything was going well, because you normally don't get that in the interviews. And a lot of times when clients get emotional at interviews, it depends on in what context the emotion happens. People cry when they get nervous. That happens, but sometimes it doesn't come off as a good emotion. It comes off as like a nervous emotion, but it was very clear that that wasn't the case. So it was really sweet, because she was like, I wish I was there just to see her face, because I could like kind of see her like thinking about the proposal and just getting emotional. And like, she's like, I never cry, and I don't know why. And I'm like, it's the environment. It's a stressful environment. It's also a really happy moment. I know when I think about my proposal, this was the day of my proposal, I get emotional too. Not right this second, but I went for a long time. Every time I thought about it, I start welling up, so I couldn't think about it for a while. So the one thing that was frustrating about the interview was I was like, there was clear eligibility for her. So I was like, I'm hoping you guys walk out of there knowing it was granted. Now, I think that didn't happen. And I think the only, I don't know why it didn't happen. I would say 9 out of 10 people who go in there do not walk out with an answer no matter what. It's actually much rarer than you would think that they tell you at the end of the interview, oh, you're granted. I think with her, when we first started, when the officers first started asking her the questions, they were asking her about the old petition that was filed. And even though I think she was like 11 or something in 2008, or no, she was a little older than that, but she was like 17, I don't know. The officer goes, so you're somebody, you had a previous petition filed, that was your husband? And she was like, no, I wasn't married. She's like, a former husband? She's like, no, it was my stepmom. And she's like, oh, well, what happened with it? And then she explained what happened with the petition. And I told my client after, I was like, you know what, that tells me the officer did not read your file very closely before you started. So this may be very simple, that she just needs to go back and confirm that it wasn't a marriage-based petition. Even if it was, it could still get approved. This one can still get approved, of course, but she needs, make sure that the client was being honest. I was like, it just tells me she probably didn't look over other stuff too, because she didn't even really know about the DACA. And that's common. I've gone to so many of these interviews. It's kind of hit or miss if the officer is going to read your case file before and how well. I think ideally you want them to. I try to paint the pictures for the officer before you step in the door. But in this case, the officer may have just looked over it quickly and saw an I-130 filed, and I-130 is the petition for a marriage petition. It's also the same petition you'd file for other family members, like a stepchild or a parent. So that's my best guess on why we couldn't find out that day. But I told them, like, maybe they'll do it that night or the next day. That kind of happens a lot too, because all they do is give her a notice saying, oh, we have 120 days. And I'm like, because I know how stressful it is to have to wait. And sometimes you just wait for no reason. Like, it's a clearing security background check or something. So when I got an email from her yesterday that she got notified there was a change in her case status and that it was approved, I was so happy for them. And I really want to talk about it today because, again, it made me feel, it was such a feel-good moment at that interview when she got emotional thinking about her proposal. And it's much more likely my clients don't remember anything about the proposal. Not just my clients, like people in general. Like, it's in a lot of cultures, it's not a big thing. Oh, Joris has a question. I'm an F1 student who lost status because of my DSO. Joris, I have dealt with that before, and I can certainly help you. But right now, I'm talking about just marriage-based green card. So if you see my contact information, phone number, email scrolling across the bottom of your screen, please reach out to me and we'll be happy to help you with that. So point is, when you go into these interviews, just be honest, just be yourself. It's okay if you get emotional, because if it's genuine emotional. You're welcome, Joris. I look forward to helping you. And also, it's okay to be, oh, thank you, Lambert. Very good. I like your comments, guys. They're great. So it's okay to be nervous. And if you want to have your lawyer there, even if you don't have criminal history, if that's going to make you feel better, great. There's nothing I love more than going with people to interviews that go well. Because they're, again, the best part is when they're granted at the interview. But for me, I like going there and being there and just kind of being there for the client and finishing out the end of like that. I'm sure we'll still be their lawyers, but like that part of the attorney-client relationship, I get to see it kind of like to the end in a sense. I get to see the benefit granted or right before the benefit's granted. So it means a lot to me when I can do it. But I'll be honest, like if I don't think you need me to go, I will. And if I do, I will tell you should take a lawyer. So it all depends on your individual situation. So here you had a dreamer who is now a permanent resident and a very happy relationship. And I look forward to their future together. And that was a great way to start my week. Oh no, it was this week, not last week. It was this week. Start my week and then basically end my week. So that is all today for notable approvals. I will be back next week because tomorrow's Friday. You know, I got things to do, but I will be back next week with another notable approval. Don't forget, like us, follow us on Facebook, share this video if you know someone who has a similar situation that might find it helpful. Our contact information, again, scrolling across the bottom of our screen. If you need any legal help, please do not hesitate to contact us. Thank you all for watching and have a great day.